From Washington, D.C. and around the world, this is Government Matters with Mimi Geerges.
This is Government Matters, the show that delivers insights on federal government programs, people, and operations. I'm Mimi Geerges. More than 6 months into its war on Ukraine, Russia's starting to run low on munitions. And according to American intelligence officials, Russia is turning to North Korea for help. David Johnson is a principal researcher at RAND Corporation. David, welcome to the program.
No, thanks for having me here.
So what do we know about Russia's plans? What are they buying from North Korea?
I would imagine they're buying the stocks they're running out of, which are ones that are pretty prolific in the North Korean arsenal, which is 152 millimeter rounds, howitzer rounds, which they've been going through lots of, obviously. Probably short-range rockets like Grad's equivalents. Again, they've been expending lots of these. I think it's a mistake, though, to think that they're going to North Korea because they're running out and they can't make these things. I think they're going to them because they realize this is a protracted conflict. They want to restock. It's not as dire as some people in the news, I think, are trying to make out.
So is Russia expected to also buy ballistic missiles from North Korea?
I don't know. I'm not sure that that's what they actually need. There was an article in the New York Times the other day that one analyst said essentially that the Russians are abandoning precision because they don't have any way to restock and they're running out, and that their conventional weapons are, failing. And he gave evidence as when you do analysis of where the round hit, it shows that the rounds are hitting in the ground instead of in the air, which is more lethal for troops. Well, I'm an old artilleryman, and the reality is that most of what you shoot is hitting the ground because you're going after materiel targets like bunkers and trench lines. The airburst is done specifically against troops who are uncovered in the open. As we know, since years ago, the Ukrainians in Donetsk have been dug in to avoid overhead artillery fire. So I think we may be reading way too much into what this means for the Russians. There are not many countries in the world that use 152 anymore. It was a Soviet weapon. Almost all the West uses 155 millimeter. They're not compatible. So there's only a few places they can go to augment what they're going to continue to produce.
But what do we know? What do we know, David, about how good these North Korean munitions are? I mean, aren't they pretty old?
Yeah, but I think that we tend to think of these weapons as exquisite systems, which the rockets and missiles are. But the low-range rockets and the howitzer projectiles last forever, essentially. They have to be maintained in stockpiles. But it is a steel container with explosives in it, and with a fuse on it, and it hits the ground and it blows up. It's not a sophisticated thing with sensors and timers and everything else. So it's a very simple, easy to maintain, long duration system.
What is North Korea getting in return? Is it simply an infusion of cash for them?
I think it's what they always want. They want to be on the world stage. Anytime they show up in the news for any reason, we all go, the North Koreans, what are they doing now? So I think they're going to get some cash. They're also going to get cuts on, I think, gas and oil, which are critical in North Korea. So, it's a quid pro quo with fuel for munitions, essentially, at a cut rate. So I think they're both getting something out of it. But I think we need to understand that, this is a negotiation, not a capitulation of showing that we don't have anything in our stocks.
David, I want to ask you about what's happening on the ground. The UN's nuclear watchdog is calling for a safe zone around Zaporizhia power plant.
Right.
And here's what the IAEA Director General recently said.
We are playing with fire, and something very, very catastrophic could take place.
What do you think, David? Catastrophe? I mean, how concerned should we be?
I think as long as it's controlled, I think the Russians as well as the Ukrainians know the effects of anything happening there. I worry about just an accident. And most of these things are that happen are catastrophic, like a nuclear plant, or unintended consequences of something else. And that's what I'm concerned about. I don't think either side wants to have this thing become a meltdown disaster. But they are, as the director said, they're playing with fire. Anytime you have weapons that close that are explosive, the chance of something bad happening just are exponential.
So what are Russia's strategic goals for that nuclear power plant? Why is there fighting there? Why do they want to take it?
Well, I think their goal initially was it creates essentially a safe haven inside of Ukraine. The Ukrainians are not going to attack it, knowing the consequences of it going down, and so it's essentially a safe haven and a sanctuary. And it also, I think, provides Putin politically some bargaining space where he can tell the world that look, I'm trying to safeguard this. The Ukrainians are shooting at it. It's not me. You can take all that with a grain of salt. But I think the principal thing is it gives the Russians kind of an enclave that is, sacrosanct. Nobody can shoot at it.
All right. Well, David, we'll continue to watch what's going on, obviously, on the ground in Ukraine, and appreciate you being on the program.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future Government Matters interviews.